Good morning, students. In this series of lectures, we are going to discuss the topic functions of complex variables. Initially, we will be generalizing the concept of function of a real variable x. So that means f of x to function of the complex variable z. That means f of z. Then we are going to study the differential calculus and the integral calculus for the function of a complex variable z. As far as differentiation of functions of complex variables is concerned, we will be covering up the topics analytic functions, Cauchy-Riemann equations, both in Cartesian and polar form. We are going to study the necessary and sufficient condition for a function to be analytic. Also, we are going to study the Milne-Thomson method of getting a function fz in terms of z when either the real part of the function is known or the imaginary part of the function is known. Let us quickly revise the forms in which a complex number can be represented. A complex number can be written in the Cartesian form as z equal to x plus iy, while we can write the complex number z in polar form as r into bracket cos theta plus I sin theta. Here, r is the magnitude. So magnitude of the complex number is given by square root of x square plus y square. Theta, that means the amplitude of the complex number, is nothing but tan inverse y by x. For representing the complex number in polar form, we always will be considering theta lying in the range minus pi to pi. So that means we are going to consider the principal amplitude of the complex number z. Now let us define the function of a complex variable z. Let us consider two complex numbers z equal to x plus iy and w equal to u plus iv. If corresponding to each value of z in some region there is assigned a value of w through the relation w equal to f of z, then w equal to f of z is defined as the function of a complex variable z. To take a simple example, let us consider w equal to fz equal to z square. If z equals x plus iy, then z square will be x plus iy bracket square. If we expand this bracket, then easily we can write fz as x square minus y square plus I times 2xy. So observe that x square minus y square is the real part of f of z, while 2xy is the imaginary part of f of z. So that means I can say that the real part of f of z is nothing but x square minus y square, which is equal to u, while the imaginary part v equals 2xy. So given a function of a complex variable z, we always will be in a position to write it into a real part and the imaginary part. Now let us define the limit of the function f of z. A function f of z tends to the limit L as z tends to z naught along any path if to each positive number epsilon, however small, there corresponds a positive number delta such that magnitude of fz minus L is less than epsilon whenever 0 is less than mod of z minus z naught is less than delta. We denote this as limit z tending to z naught of fz equal to L. Recall, whenever we were dealing with a function of a real variable x, so f of x, whenever x tends to x naught, x will be approaching x naught along the number line, either from the left hand side or from the right hand side. Here, for complex variable, whenever we are saying z tends to z naught, z will approach z naught along any path. So here we can say that the complex plane C is isomorphic with the two-dimensional xy plane. So if you consider a point pxy in the xy plane, then it is possible for us to reach the point pxy via infinitely many paths. So here, whenever we are finding the limit and whenever we are saying that the limit exists, we should be getting one finite unique number along any path. We will say that the function fz is continuous at a point whenever we are having limit z tending to z naught of fz equal to fz naught. The function fz will be said to be continuous in the region R of the z-plane if it is continuous at every point of the domain. Now let us define the derivative f dash z of the function f of z. The definition of the derivative of function of a complex variable is again generalization of the definition of limit of a function of the real variable. So recall, whenever we are having f of x as a function of real variable x, the derivative is nothing but limit of the incrementary ratio. So here f dash z, derivative of f of z, is considered as limit of the incrementary ratio. So limit h tending to 0 of f of z plus h minus fz divided by h. This this limit of the incrementary ratio, it should be unique and it should be finite along any path. Then we will say that the derivative exists. Once the derivative exists, all the elementary rules for real differential calculus can be used so as to obtain the derivative of a function of the complex variable z. The function fz is said to be analytic at the point z equal to z naught if it is defined and has derivative in some neighborhood of z naught. The function will be analytic in the region R if it is analytic at every point in the region R. Analytic function is also called as a regular function or a holomorphic function. Observe that instead of saying the function fz is differentiable, we are using the terminology the function fz is analytic at a point or it is analytic in the region R. Now let us study the necessary and sufficient condition for analyticity of the function fz. As far as the syllabus is concerned, we will be studying the statement of the necessary and sufficient condition. The proof of the necessary and sufficient condition is beyond the scope. The necessary condition for a function fz equal to u plus iv to be analytic is delta u by delta x is equal to delta v by delta y, delta u by delta y equal to minus delta v by delta x. That is, if the function is analytic, then the Cauchy-Riemann equations, the CR equations are satisfied. Delta u by delta x equal to delta v by delta y and delta u by delta y equal to minus delta v by delta x. These are Cauchy-Riemann equations in Cartesian form. Here, the necessary condition is not sufficient. So that means if the Cauchy-Riemann equations are satisfied, it is not necessary that the function will be analytic. So we need to have some additional conditions for the analyticity of the function. The sufficient condition for a function fz equal to u plus iv to be analytic is the functions, the real part and the imaginary part, so u and v of fz along with the first order partials ux, uy, vx, vy, they are continuous and the Cauchy-Riemann equations are satisfied, then certainly we can say that the function will be analytic. So that means if the Cauchy-Riemann equations are satisfied and u, v and the first order partials ux, uy, vx, vy are continuous, then fz is analytic. If the function, instead of giving us in the Cartesian form, the polar form is given, then the polar form of Cauchy-Riemann equations can be used. Delta u by delta r equal to 1 upon r into delta v by delta theta and delta v by delta r equal to minus 1 upon r into delta u by delta theta. It is necessary to remember correctly the Cartesian form and the polar form of the Cauchy-Riemann equations. Now we are going to solve some problems based on the analytic functions. Show that fz equal to square root of xy is not analytic at the origin, although the Cauchy-Riemann equations are satisfied. So that means we want to show that the derivative of fz is not existing at the origin, but the Cauchy-Riemann equations are satisfied at the origin. So let us first show that the Cauchy-Riemann equations are satisfied at the origin. We always write the function of a complex variable fz as u plus iv. So here we are having the function as root xy. Therefore, I am having the real part u of xy to be root xy and the imaginary part v is 0. Because the imaginary part v is 0, the partial derivative of v with respect to x and partial derivative of v with respect to y both are 0 at the origin. Now let us calculate the partial derivative of u with respect to x and with respect to y at the origin. By definition, ux00. So partial derivative of u with respect to x at origin is limit h tending to 0 of u h0 minus u00 divided by h. This is nothing but limit h tending to 0 of UH0 is nothing but 0 minus 0 divided by H. It is very easy to see that the limit H tending to 0 of 0 upon H is 0. Similarly, the partial derivative of U with respect to Y, which is limit k tending to 0 of u0k minus u00 divided by k also equals 0. Because all the first order partials at origin are 0, Cauchy-Riemann equations are trivially satisfied. Now, let us show that the function fz equal to square root of xy is not analytic at the origin. That means the derivative does not exist at the origin. So let us consider the definition of f dash z. F dash z is nothing but limit of the incrementary ratio. That is limit h tending to 0 of f of z plus h minus fz divided by h. We wish to calculate the derivative at z equal to 0. So we are having limit h tending to 0 of f of 0 plus h minus f0 divided by h. H is nothing but H1 plus IH2. Therefore, f of H is square root of H1 H2 divided by H is nothing but H1 plus IH2. Now, we wish to discuss about the existence of this limit. The requirement is the limit should be having finite and unique value along any path that we consider. So let me consider the path H2 equal to m times H1. So that means I am considering a straight line passing through the origin. If we substitute H2 equal to m H1 in the limit, f dash 0 reduces to limit h tending to 0 of h1 multiplied by square root of m divided by h1 into bracket 1 plus im. We are getting the value of this limit as f dash 0 equal to square root of m divided by 1 plus im. Observe that f dash 0 depends on m. So that is, in other words, if I consider different values of m equal to 1, m equal to 2 and so on, then we will be getting different values of f dash 0. Therefore, we are not getting a unique value. That is, in other words, f dash 0 does not exist. That is, in other words, the function fz is not analytic at the origin. You can pause the video for this slide. Calculate the limit once again and check whether you have understood the concept of finding limit via different paths. Now let us proceed to the next example. Using Cauchy-Riemann equations, show that fz equal to z cube is analytic in the entire z plane. Let us try to write fz equal to z cube as u plus iv. That means we will try to separate z cube into real and imaginary parts. I am getting the real part to be x cube minus 3xy square and imaginary part as 3x square y minus y cube. That means with standard notation u equals x cube minus 3xy square and v equals 3x square y minus y cube. Quickly find out the first order partials. So ux equals 3x square minus 3y square. Uy equals minus 6xy. Vx equals 6xy and Vy equals 3x square minus 3y square. So observe that Ux is same as Vy and Uy is same as minus Vx. That is, in other words, the Cauchy-Riemann equations are satisfied. and therefore the function fz is analytic in the entire z-plane. Now here, these are some problems for practice. You try to solve them as exercise and see whether you have understood the concept of analyticity of the function and the necessary and sufficient condition for a function to be analytic. Thank you.